discover the heartwarming moment a millionaire becomes a taxi driver for his daughter, revealing the hidden truths of life and love. Tom Sullivan, a self-made millionaire, stood in front of his mirrored closet, adjusting his tie, the same tie that closed countless deals, but today felt different. He wasn't just a businessman. He was a father desperate to connect with his daughter, Emily. A thick cloud of tension hovered between them since her breakup, and he needed a breakthrough that money couldn't buy. He took a deep breath, ready to dive into the soul of Pittsburgh and embark on a journey as a taxi driver for a week. He slid into the driver's seat of the yellow cab for the first time, the familiar smell of leather mingling with exhaust lingering in the air. His hands shook slightly on the steering wheel as he glanced at the city outside, the same streets where he played as a child, the same laughter echoing through the narrow alleys. Only now, his reflection in the rearview mirror whispered of success, wealth, and the estrangement from his beloved daughter. Each passenger brought a new story. He picked up a veteran, weathered and wise, who spoke about sacrifice, his eyes glistening with memories of camaraderie and loss. "Every day is a gift, son," he said, tapping Tom on the shoulder with a callous hand that once held a rifle, leaving Tom with a lump in his throat and a heart full of gratitude. He felt that familiar tightness in his chest, empathy blossoming where ambivalence once thrived. Tom's eyes lit when he spotted a single mother racing against time. She hopped in, breathless, juggling her children's needs and her job as if her life depended on it. "Can you believe I'm late again?" She laughed, a nervous sound that stuck with him, her struggle resonating with his own childhood. He watched her dissolve into the day's chaos, admiring her resilience, longing to understand Emily's struggles just as fiercely. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As the week unfolded, Tom faced bias and judgment from passengers who perceived his suit and cufflinks as insignia of privilege, mistaking him for another unscrupulous entrepreneur. Memories of his own struggles flooded back. For the first time in years, he was reminded that wealth could distance him from the community he once loved. Each passenger revealed small yet monumental truths of the human experience that welcomed him back into the fold. But a storm was brewing. News of a development project threatened to upend the very fabric of their neighborhood, displacing families and tearing apart lives. Tom felt the urgency surge within him, the echo of the laughter, the memories of his childhood hanging delicately in the balance. How could he remain on the sidelines as an outsider, while people who shared the same streets faced hardship? When his shift ended, Tom drove home, grappling with the challenges that lay ahead. Would he step up for his community? Would he be the father Emily needed him to be? As Tom sat across from Emily at the dinner table, ready to share every bit of wisdom earned behind the wheel, the weight of the impending crisis loomed heavy, a bittersweet reminder that sometimes the battle for family and community begins within us. Would he manage to bridge the emotional gap between them while answering the calling of their neighborhood? One thing was clear: the fight was just beginning, and true wealth was about to be redefined. The hidden truths of life and love. Dinner had never felt so quiet. The clinking of cutlery against porcelain echoed like a distant drumbeat as Tom and Emily sat across from each other. He watched her pick at her food, her brown eyes clouded with emotions he couldn't decipher. This was the moment he had been waiting for, yet the familiar knot in his stomach tightened. "Emily," he began, pushing aside his apprehension, "I had a while to think today." She looked up, skepticism etched on her face. "About what?" "How to make more money, Dad." His heart sank at her tone. No, not about business. About us, about people. He paused, trying to choose his words carefully. I've been a taxi driver this week. It was eye-opening. Her fork paused midair. Taxi driver? Really? You? He nodded, a small smile breaking through the tension. I know it sounds crazy, but I felt a connection with the city. With the people. I picked up this single mom today, struggling to make ends meet. And then, there was a veteran with stories that put everything into perspective. Emily's posture softened slightly, but her skepticism remained. That's nice, Dad, but I don't see how that changes anything. Tom leaned forward, urgency in his voice. It changes everything, Emily. I realized I've been so far removed from the real world. I've been chasing success instead of relationships. I want to understand what you're going through. I want to be there for you. For a moment, her expression flickered with something close to hope, but before he could latch onto it, her wall shot back up. You think 1 week of pretending to be a taxi driver will bridge the gap? It won't, Dad. Tom was taken aback. Those words hurt, yet they struck a chord of truth. I know I can't change the past, but I want to try. There's a development project threatening our neighborhood, and I feel like I need to fight for it. I need to fight for us. Her voice trembled slightly. You don't even live there anymore. Why should you care? Because those people are my people. They're part of my past, and now they're part of my future if I can help a future that includes you. Silence hung between them like a fragile thread, and Tom felt the weight of unspoken words clamping down on his chest. Emily looked down, her eyes glimmering with unshed tears. Don't you get it? She whispered, voice breaking. You can't just decide to care because it suits you. I'm the one who has been here, who has been hurt. You don't understand what I need. Panic flashed through him. Emily, I can learn. I want to learn. Just give me a chance. But she simply shook her head, a tear escaping down her cheek. Maybe you should be thought about that before you build your empire. Watching her retreat behind walls of hurt and anger, Tom felt the full impact of the gulf between them, a chasm deeper than money could ever fill. He wanted to reach out, but the words were stuck like gnarled knots in his throat. Please, Emily. Before he could say anything more, she stood up, pushing her chair back. I need some air. With that, she left, the door echoing with finality. Tom's heart raced, dread settling in. Would he ever break through? As he stared at her empty seat, a determination ignited within him. Stepping outside that night, the cool air wrapped around him like a cloak. He needed a plan more than just insights from his passengers. He had to go deeper into the fight for his community and his daughter. What was he willing to sacrifice for their future? What if, in the process, he changed forever? He took a breath, filled with purpose. As he looked ahead, he knew he was just beginning to understand the true meaning of love. And just as the weight of that realization began to dawn on him, Tom spotted movement down the street. A group gathered near the community center, animated gestures and rising voices cutting through the quiet night. Was this the chance he had been looking for? Suddenly, a sense of urgency washed over him. What if this was the moment that could redefine his commitment to both his community and his daughter? With resolve, he started walking toward the gathering, knowing one thing for sure. He had to fight not just for the neighborhood, but for a way back to Emily's heart as well. Tom felt the thrum of the night pulse around him as he approached the group near the community center. Each step deepened his resolve, a rhythm urging him forward. He could hear snippets of conversation, concerned voices mixed with anger, hope, and frustration. Another wave of development will erase our history. One voice shouted, igniting a spark in Tom's chest. He stepped closer, the allure of their collective struggle weighing heavily on him. The air was charged. He could almost taste the passion swirling among the crowd. As he veered around the edge of the gathering. Tom recognized familiar faces. Members of his old neighborhood. He hesitated for just a moment, wondering if his presence would be received with scorn or indifference. He had taken so much from this place. What right did he have to show up now? But before he could second-guess himself, someone spotted him. "Tom, you're back." The voice was warm and welcoming. It was Marcus, a man he'd known since their teenage years. The way Marcus grinned instantly eased some of the pressure building in Tom's chest. "Hey, Marcus. I wanted to see what was happening here," he said, his voice steady despite the heaviness in his heart. "They're trying to bulldoze the old diner. Place has been here since before any of us." Marcus's expression tightened, revealing layers of frustration. "It's all about profit for them, you know? But we're not going to let them take from us without a fight." A ripple of support echoed through the crowd, invigorating Tom. Maybe he had a role to play here after all. Stepping closer, he raised his hand to call attention. "Everyone, can I say something?" The chatter quieted down. Faces turned toward him, hopeful yet wary. He swallowed hard. "I know I haven't been around much. I want you to know that I care about this place, about all of you. And I'm here to help fight for what we all love." A mix of reactions fluttered across their faces. Some were skeptical, others intrigued. A woman in the front crossed her arms. "What can you do, Tom? You've been living in a different world for years. What do you understand about our fight?" Her words stung like cold water splashed to the core. "I understand that I've made choices that took me away from you. But I'm ready to make new ones." Tom's voice shook slightly, but he pressed on. "I have resources. I want to leverage anything I can to help us secure this neighborhood." The murmurs began again, weaving through the crowd. Would they believe him? Had he waited too long to step back into their lives? And then suddenly, Emily appeared at the edge of the crowd. His heart raced. She stood there, scanning the faces of those gathered, her expression unreadable. The relief of seeing her was quickly swallowed by the fear that she might be disappointed in him again. "Dad?" Her voice was soft yet piercing, cutting through the noise. Tom took a step toward her, every fiber in his being urging her to understand. "What are you doing here?" "I want to help them, Em. I want you to see that I'm serious about this." "About us," he stammered, his heart lurching at the look on her face. Emily's eyes narrowed, her posture taut, but something shifted in her gaze. She was waiting for him to show her sincerity, to prove he could change. Before he could grasp what she needed from him, Marcus snapped his fingers, catching everyone's attention again. "Time to take action, folks. Let us make a plan." The energy surged in the air, drawing everyone into a collective purpose. Tom turned back to Emily, the crowd blurring around them. "Please stay with me. I want to show you that I can fight not just for this neighborhood but for you too." A flicker of uncertainty crossed her face, but it brought forth a sliver of hope. It felt like a fragile connection hanging between them, waiting to be tested. As the conversation erupted again, Tom grasped her hand, a silent promise. Together, they would create a new story, a story of fighting for love, for community, and for each other. But as he held on to that thought, a distant sound of sirens broke through the air. Something bigger might be lurking on the horizon. Would they be ready when it arrived? Tom felt the shift in the air as the sirens drew closer. A wave of unease rippled through the crowd, their animated chatter faltering just as his own heart began to race. He glanced around, seeking reassurance from familiar faces, but what he saw only deepened the knot in his stomach. The people he once played with, the neighbors who had welcomed him home with open arms, were now united by a common thread of fear. "Stay together. We don't know what is coming," Marcus shouted, stepping up to the center, his voice steady. The passion was still there, but now it was laced with urgency. "We need to figure this out. If they're calling in the cops or something worse, They want to scare us. Tom squeezed Emily's hand tighter, feeling her pulse quicken, matching his own. Let us get to the diner, he suggested, gesturing toward the building that stood defiantly at the edge of their neighborhood. That's where we'll make our stand. He didn't know where the words came from. All he knew was that the diner represented more than the food served there. It was a piece of their past, a hub of memories that knit their lives together. It was time he fought for those memories, for Emily, for everyone. Right. Marcus nodded, glancing at the group around them. We can protect it together. Let us move. The crowd began to shuffle like geese taking flight, a sense of solidarity reigniting the flame of hope that started to flicker in Tom's chest. As they made their way toward the diner, Tom caught sight of Emily, her face illuminated by the streetlights. She looked determined, but a storm brewed in her eyes. Dad, what if they don't listen? What if they try to take the diner regardless? What do we do? She asked, her voice trembling slightly, though her grip remained strong. He wanted to shelter her from the chaos, to promise that everything would be okay. But life was messier than that. We'll stand together, Tom replied, trying to mask the uncertainty beneath his words. Sometimes that's all you can do, Em. Stand your ground. As they reached the diner, a small crowd had already gathered. Tom took a deep breath, stepping onto the worn outdoor steps, dusty with the weight of so many conversations and laughs. He called out, "Everyone! We need to talk strategy. This isn't just about the diner. It's about saving our community." Voices murmured agreement, tension transforming into murmurs of unity. Marcus spoke up again, laying out plans. If we can block access, we can buy time while we gather resources. Tom, what can you bring to the table? Tom hesitated. He realized he didn't just want to rely on his wealth. He wanted to earn his place among them again, not just as a benefactor, but as a community member. I have connections, people who care about saving spaces like this. I can leverage my network. The crowd reacted, the shift palpable. Hope began to bloom, slowly pushing back against their fears. Emily's face brightened a little, and for the first time, he felt like he was fighting in the right way, fighting for what mattered. But just as camaraderie nestled into place, the distant rumble of engines surged. Flashing red lights illuminated the space, followed by a thunderous voice blaring from a megaphone, "Disperse immediately. This area is being secured for a development project." Panic rippled through the crowd. Tom felt a sickening churn in his stomach. Were they really going to bulldoze their lives away right now? He turned to Emily, who was staring at the scene unfolding, her breath hitching in her throat. "Stay with me, Em," he urged. "We can't let them take this from us without a fight." Her eyes locked onto his, something vital flickering between them. In that moment, he understood the stakes were more than just land. It was love, connection, and their future. "Okay," she replied, fierce determination creeping into her voice. "Let us show them that we're not backing down." Tom nodded, and with a newfound strength, he rallied those around him. They would face whatever came together. But as the officer stepped closer, a heart-stopping realization washed over him. The sirens weren't just a warning, they were a battle cry. Would they find the courage to stand their ground, or would the darkness of corporate greed swallow them whole? Tom inhaled sharply as the police officers, clad in intimidating gear, moved closer. His heart raced with adrenaline and fear. The megaphone barked again, "This area is being evacuated. Clear the street." Behind him, the crowd wavered, uncertainty flooding their faces. He caught Emily's anxious look just before Marcus stepped forward, determination lighting his own expression. "We're not going anywhere," he shouted. That ignited the crowd. "Not without a fight." Came a roar in unison, their voices melding into a powerful chorus of defiance. Tom smiled, a flicker of hope igniting within. They were ready to stand firm. "Here's the plan," Tom called, feeling the energy shift. "We need barriers, anything to block the approach." Someone grabbed that trash can. He pointed across the street, while others began to look around for anything to create a physical barrier. Emily, still holding firmly to his hand, nodded in agreement. "I'll help," she said, dashing toward a pile of discarded crates. With her enthusiasm inspiring others, the crowd scattered to grab whatever they could find. Soon, they were dragging tables and chairs, anything that could stand in the way of the impending threat. The diner felt alive, reinvigorated by the passion of its defenders. "Tom, over here." A neighbor waved him toward a makeshift barricade forming. He hurried to help stack crates and chairs with Marcus. The sense of unity pulsed around him. Together, they were creating something tangible, something that said they wouldn't be silenced. But amid the fray, doubt gnawed at him. He had climbed the corporate ladder, always wearing polished shoes and tailored suits. Never had he thought the day would come when he'd be stacking crates on the street for a diner. A question lingered: was he truly part of this community again? Did they see him as one of them, or just a wealthy man trying to fix things? Just then, the police officers advanced, shouting warnings and demands. The flashing lights reflected off the barricade, creating a surreal ambience. "This is your final warning. You need to evacuate now," one officer shouted, stepping closer, his expression grave. Tom felt the tension rise, like a wave about to crash. He stepped to the forefront, meeting the officer's gaze. "We're not leaving. This diner isn't just a building. It's our home. We won't let you take it from us." Unease flickered in the officer's eyes, momentarily surprised by the intensity in Tom's voice. But it vanished quickly, steely resolve taking over. "You're obstructing an official operation. This is your last chance. If you do not disperse, we will be forced to take action." Tom felt sweat bead on his brow. He turned to the crowd, who looked back to him for guidance. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to maintain composure. "Listen, this is a fight worth having. But we need to be smart about this. We can't allow ourselves to be taken down without a strategy." Just as he was about to continue, Emily tugged at his sleeve. Her face was pale, eyes wide, but determination underlined her expression. "Dad, what if they really do try to arrest people?" She glanced at the officers, fear creeping into her voice. Tom crouched down to meet her eyes. "Then we stay connected. We fight with words first, Em. We have to show them how important this is to us." "Fear isn't going to win this," he said slowly, feeling the weight of his own conviction. Emily took a deep breath. "I can talk too. If I step up, maybe they'll listen." Tom's heart twisted with both pride and worry. "Are you sure? It's a big responsibility." "I am, Dad," she said with fierce resolve. As Emily stepped forward, her small figure highlighted by the neon diner sign, everyone grew quiet. They watched as she faced the officers, courage glimmering in her eyes. Tom felt an unexpected swell of admiration. Maybe it wasn't just about him proving himself. It was about all of them together, standing for what mattered. But just as she began to speak, an unexpected rumble echoed, and the crowd gasped. A large bulldozer rounded the corner, metal noise echoing like thunder. "Dad!" Emily screamed, eyes wide with alarm, pulling him back as the machine's headlights bore down on them. Could they hold their ground against this new threat? Would Tom embrace this chance to lead? The air shifted, electricity crackling with uncertainty, as the bulldozer rumbled closer, its engine a monstrous growl. Tom felt his breath quicken, heart pounding, and eyes locked on the approaching metal behemoth. The crowd parted slightly, a collective gasp echoing through the air as anxiety rippled like a wave. "Get back!" an officer shouted, pushing people aside. The moment felt surreal, as if time slowed. Tom's instincts kicked in. His fatherly protection snapped into focus. He gripped Emily's hand tightly, anchoring her beside him even as she trembled. "Look!" Marcus shouted, pointing a finger as if it could turn back time. "We need to block that thing. Now!" The crowd, filled with fear yet fueled by adrenaline, scrambled once more. People dashed to the makeshift barricades, fully aware that this wasn't just about standing against the police anymore, it was now about stopping a bulldozer. "Tom!" Emily cried out, her voice shaky. "What do we do?" His mind raced. He glanced around, the diner's neon sign flickering defiantly behind him, a beacon of their determination. "We fight. We talk. He hesitated, searching for the right words that could hold them together. "We show them the heart of this community." In that instant, he saw the glimmer of hope rekindle in the crowd. They began forming a human chain in front of the bulldozer, linking arms with grit and tenacity. Their faces reflected a mixture of fear and fierce resolve. He felt the palpable energy pulsating through the air, an unyielding force hanging between them and the looming threat. "Stay close," Tom yelled, stepping forward to join the chain. Emily was right at his side, her bright eyes locked onto his, a blend of bravery and vulnerability. She squeezed his hand, giving him strength. As the bulldozer ground to a halt, its driver stared at the human barricade, bewildered. The officer leading the operation stepped forward, his face twisted in frustration. "You all need to disperse immediately. This is an official demolition. An official demolition of our home," Emily shouted, her voice steady and unwavering. The crowd collectively shifted as they felt empowered by her words. "Keep it together," Tom added, feeling the warmth of unity rise around him. "This diner isn't just bricks and mortar. It's the laughter, the stories, the people. We're not going anywhere." A moment of silence passed, realization washing over the crowd. It wasn't just a diner. It was a symbol of their togetherness and hope. Tom met Emily's gaze, and in that shared look, he knew they were both on the same page. Suddenly, the crowd erupted with renewed fervor, chanting in support, their voices joining as one powerful force. "Save the diner. Save our home." It echoed down the street, a fierce protest that even the cold, hard machinery couldn't drown out. But then, a voice broke through the chanting. "Tom! Look out!" It was Marcus, pointing suddenly. Tom turned just as a police officer moved to push through the barricade, looking ready to use force. Fear pricked at Tom's heart again. Would they really arrest innocent people? "Please," Emily pleaded, stepping slightly forward. "This isn't just about us. It's about everyone who South ever needed this place." The tension escalated again, breaths held, emotions high. Would Tom act now, or would they lose everything? Then, as if the universe took pity, something unexpected happened. A figure emerged from the crowd, a silent burst of unexpected support. It was an old waitress from the diner, her hair gone gray but spirit unchanged. "Where do you think you're going?" she yelled with surprising strength. The crowd turned, curious and hopeful, her presence igniting even more fervor. "Just you watch," she continued, stepping forward. "You can't take our heart away." Could the defiance of this single woman give them the strength to resist? Would it be enough to turn the tide in their favor? As the crowd erupted again, Tom felt hope surge within him, mingled with the fear of what lay ahead. He knew this battle was just beginning, and the next moment could change everything. Would it be a rallying cry or a siren of defeat? Would they rally together as one? The crowd surged with an energy that was unmistakably contagious. Tom felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him, his body readying itself for the confrontation that was about to unfold. As shouts of defiance filled the air, he glanced down at Emily beside him, who was now staring wide-eyed at the old waitress. "Wow, look at her go!" Emily murmured, her nervousness momentarily forgotten. "Yeah," Tom replied, squeezing her hand tighter. "That's the spirit we need." The waitress, standing her ground with an unwavering gaze, seemed to radiate an electric hope that reached everyone gathered. "Why are you doing this?" one of the officers sneered, stepping closer to the barrier. "You're just prolonging the inevitable." The old waitress, seemingly unperturbed, shot back confidently. "This diner has seen love, heartbreak, and the lives of our people. You can't bulldoze that. You can't erase the history we've shared." The crowd roared in agreement, and it felt like an earthquake of determination. Tom's heart swelled as he watched new faces emerge. People he hadn't seen before were joining hands, joining the fight. Each new arrival added a layer of strength, turning their desperate stand into a formidable wall of community spirit. But the officers weren't backing down. They pushed forward, using their authority like a heavy hammer against their wall. "We will disperse you," the commanding officer warned, adjusting the radio on his shoulder. "This is your last chance." But then, just as doubt began to creep in, an unexpected shout cut through the mounting tension. It was Mrs. Mathers, the town librarian, buried in the throng. "Remember the book club? The cake sales? We're more than just neighbors. We're family." Her voice struck a chord, stirring memories nestled deep in Tom's heart. The laughter during those warm evenings at the diner, the kindness shared over cups of coffee, the quiet moments of solace after long days, all of it tethering them to this place. "Yeah!" Marcus shouted, joining the rallying cries. "This diner is where we gathered in joy and sorrow. You can't take that from us. Together, we're stronger." A man shouted from the back. "Together, we fight." As his words ignited even more passion, Tom felt the ground beneath him steady, adding to his determination. Then came the deafening sound of a horn, the bulldozer's engine revving back to life. The officer had given the signal. Tom's stomach twisted. "We need to hold the line," he yelled. But right then, another woman emerged from the back, a familiar face. It was Anna, the baker who had delighted their community with the sweetest treats for years. "Tom," she called, "let us show them that we're here to stay. Grab whatever you can." The scattered folks began to dash off, returning with whatever they could use, pots, pans, and even the old diner's kitchen stools. They fashioned a new line, a quirky but dedicated barricade of determination. "Spread out," Tom shouted, adrenaline coursing through him. "Let them see our resolve." The police looked hesitant now. The officers murmured amongst themselves, as if unsure how to proceed against such unified spirit. Could they really bulldoze over a community standing together? Just then, as if summoned by the tension, a flicker of blue and red lights appeared beyond the bulldozer. News cameras were rolling in. The community action fight they had together created a true spectacle about to unfold for the world to see. Tom's heart raced. Would the media coverage swing the momentum back in their favor? Would their voices echo far enough beyond the police line? As the crowd cheered with renewed energy, Tom felt a mix of dread and excitement swell. They were on the brink of a monumental change. What would happen next? Would statistics and heavies conquer the soul of the community, or would hope prevail? Suddenly, a new figure stepped out of the police vehicle, holding a megaphone. Would this decision shift the balance of their struggle, or seal their fate? As Tom leaned forward, heartbeat loud in his ears, he thought, what could this mean for all of them? The commanding officer's voice boomed through the megaphone, slicing through the tension like a knife. "People of this town, we have a job to do, and it's time to clear this area." Tom's heart sank. He could almost feel the crowd's collective breath hitching at the prospect of being forcibly removed. A few people shuffled nervously, casting glances around as if seeking a signal to flee. But then, out of that trembling silence, the old waitress stepped forward again, resolve etched on her weathered face. You think you can just erase us? We're not just a crowd. We're a family. You can't bulldoze our memories." Her words, powerful and defiant, echoed through the air and reverberated wildly in Tom's chest. Could they really stand their ground against all odds? The community that had fought through heartbreak, joy, and everything in between was facing a genuine threat, and yet here they were, standing tall. As the megaphone crackled, the officer glanced at the crowd, a wave of uncertainty washing over his steely demeanor. Tom could feel the shifting energy around him. The fear mingled with hope, the tension binding them into something stronger. "A moment!" shouted Anna, suddenly brandishing a flour-dusted rolling pin she'd grabbed from her bakery. "This isn't just our diner. It's the heart of our community. We've built this place with love, and we will not back down." A collective gasp rose from the crowd, and laughter broke out. In that split second, what seemed daunting turned into determination. Tom couldn't help but smile at the absurdity and brilliance of it all, the heaviness of the moment lifting, if only briefly. "Together!" Tom shouted, his own voice carried by new hope. "We are more than a diner here. We are the stories, laughter, and tears shared over meals, the lives intertwined. You can't take that from us." As the crowd responded with a roar, joy spilling onto their faces, Emily beamed beside him. Her small hand squeezed his, filled with life and fire, but the police were regrouping. The engine of the bulldozer growled threateningly, a mechanical beast ready to stampede over their hopes and dreams. Tom's heart raced with fear, a whispering doubt creeping in. What if this was the end of everything they'd built? But it was too late for doubt. Up ahead, a voice broke through, clearer than the others. "Who is here for fair treatment?" It was Mrs. Mathers, resolute and unwavering as she raised her hand. "We stand together." One by one, hands began to rise, logos of solidarity. Thomas' heart surged. They were ready to face the threat. There was no backing down now. Within moments, the news crew's cameras flashed, capturing raw emotion on hearts that beat as one. The tension reached palpable heights as a crowd chant swelled. "This diner stays! This diner stays!" When the drilling sound of an argument broke out between the officers, everyone's eyes darted to the police vehicle. Another figure emerged, this time a woman. A woman wearing a familiar face, standing resolute with papers in hand. "Stop!" she shouted, holding them aloft. "You need to hear me." Tom's breath caught, and he felt everyone's anticipation. Who was she? What could she possibly have that would turn the tide? As the murmurs carried through the crowd, an unmistakable hope hung in the air. Could this be the moment they were fighting for? Would this unexpected newcomer bring the change they desperately sought? In that breathless silence, Tom leaned in, his heart slamming against his ribcage. What was the woman about to reveal, and would it save them all? Tom's pulse quickened as the woman stepped closer. The sunlight caught her hair, shimmering like a beacon. His mind raced, searching for who she might be. Images flooded in. Her face was familiar, but he couldn't place her. She moved with a confidence that cut through the chaos, and somehow he felt his spirit lift. "Listen," she called out again, her voice cutting through the noise. "I'm here on behalf of the town council. We've been fighting for your rights." At those words, the crowd grew silent, leaning in as if she had a lifeline to offer. Tom held his breath, caught between hope and fear. What could the council possibly do at this point? "They've been planning this demolition without your directives. But I've got documents here," she continued, waving the papers triumphantly, "proving that this diner is a historic landmark. You can't just tear it down without proper procedures." Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Faces that had been furrowed with worry now sparked with a flicker of hope. The air buzzed with anticipation. Tom glanced around at the townspeople he'd grown up with. He saw Mrs. Mather's eyes wide with disbelief, Anna holding her rolling pin as if it were a trophy, and Emily beaming with pride. This woman, whoever she was their shot at redemption. "Are you telling me there's a chance?" Tom shouted, desperation flowing into his voice as he joined the murmurings of the crowd. "You can really stop them?" "Yes," the woman replied, her fire igniting their hope further. "But we need to stand together. We need to fight for this place, for our story." With every word, the crowd leaned closer, lifting their spirits like balloons released into the sky. Tom's chest swelled with emotion as he looked into the eyes of his neighbors. They were ready to rise, elbow to elbow, ready to defend everything they cherished. A roar erupted from the crowd once more, shaking the ground beneath their feet. "Save our diner! Save our diner!" The chant rang louder, fueled by the energy of shared determination. But in an unexpected twist, a new fear sliced through Tom's heart. He glanced at the police officers, still clustered together, seemingly more confused than angry. Would they listen to reason, or were they already too determined to bulldoze over their hopes? The commanding officer stepped forward, his brow furrowing as the crowd's energy pulsed around him. "You think a few papers will stop us? We have orders." His voice was angry, almost startled. "What if those orders are illegal?" shouted Mrs. Mathers, emboldened by the woman's nerve. "You need to consider the well-being of your community." Tom sensed the ground shifting beneath them, literally and metaphorically. Was the officer realizing the weight of the moment? In a split second, he could choose to either enforce their orders or acknowledge the people he was supposed to protect. The woman held out the documents confidently, her palms steady but her eyes pleading. "Let us talk about this. Let us save our diner." As the crowd surged forward, Tom felt himself on the brink of something monumental. Would the officer yield? Would the community finally be heard? In that moment of tension, with hearts racing and breaths held, Tom stood at a crossroads, knowing that everything he loved hung in the balance. What would happen when the truth collided with power? Would they be able to save what mattered most to them? Tom felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him like a suffocating blanket. The air crackled with tension as he stood amid the loud chanting crowd, each voice like a surge of electricity jolting through his body. Right there, he felt unity, the kind he hadn't truly grasped until now. The officer, visibly flustered, seemed to weigh his options. For a brief moment, he hesitated, glancing at the old waitress, then back to the townspeople, a flicker of uncertainty ghosting across his stern face. "These documents don't mean anything without proper procedures," he barked, still trying to maintain an authoritative air. Tom stepped forward, feeling an urgent wave of courage wash over him. "Sir, look at us. This isn't just a piece of land to us. It's our lives. It's where we grew up." His voice cut through the chorus of shouting, wavering slightly, but steady. "We're not a number on a spreadsheet. We're a community. We deserve a chance." The officer's eyes flashed as he contemplated the scene unfolding before him. All around, the townspeople stood firm, their expressions a mix of hope and defiance. He glanced back at the woman with the documents. Confusion and frustration etched into his brow. Tom leaned further in, desperate to bridge the divide. This community is rich in memories. We can find a solution together, one that respects our histories instead of erasing them. Emily squeezed his hand, her emotion unwavering. "That is right. We want to save our home," she shouted, passion blending seamlessly with Tom's plea. The crowd erupted in shouts of agreement, igniting the flicker of hope further. Just then, the commanding officer inhaled deeply, finally dropping his facade of authority. "All right," he said, the tension in his voice giving way to slight resignation. "I'll pause the operation. But only for the night. You'll have to prove your claims in front of the council tomorrow." Cheers erupted around them like fireworks. Relief washed over Tom, mingling with joy and gratitude. They had fought, and they had been heard, at least for now. But he knew this was just the beginning. An emotional onslaught awaited them. With hands gripping each other tight, Tom and Emily exchanged glances filled with understanding. Tomorrow would require so much more than this moment. Tomorrow would call for dedication, teamwork, and real empathy to show how deeply this diner mattered not just to them, but to the entire community. The crowd began to disperse slowly, hearts full but exhausted. As they navigated their way away from the current threat, Tom glanced at the faces of his neighbors, each one showing a mixture of relief and determination. It was in that moment he saw the shift within himself too. He had changed during this struggle, realizing that wealth meant little when it didn't serve the people you love. When they finally arrived home, the house felt different, warmer. Emily looked up at him, her eyes bright. "Dad, I can't believe we did that," she said softly, a hint of a smile breaking through. "I couldn't have done it without you," he replied, wrapping her in a hug. And for the first time in what felt like ages, he felt the walls between them dissolve, turning into something beautiful. That night, they sat together sharing stories of their childhoods, building bridges with laughter and tears, authentic words that showed their past while crafting the future they both yearned for. It dawned on Tom that true success wasn't measured in numbers, but in connections. In fighting for Emily, he had also found himself battling for the community he had forsaken. And as they drifted off to sleep, dreams of tomorrow looming above, there was a shared understanding that whatever happened next was theirs to shape together. He had rediscovered the very essence of love, the true hidden truth that wealth alone couldn't provide. Tomorrow held uncertainties, but they would face them as a family, one heartbeat at a time. And now, to you who have journeyed with us through this story, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, as it truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to know how this story touched you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand how crucial these actions are to keep our community growing and thriving.